Ladies and gentlemen, your hosts, Michael Wilkes, Angel Ortiz, Dr. Chad, and Sam La Cavera. Go check out beardedbrowns.com and be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. Enjoy the show.
What a shakeup in the NFL this last couple of weeks. None other than today, actually. The AFC North had a major shakeup when another coach bites the dust. So now that is 3 vacancies in the AFC North. I think that's the first time I've ever seen it in my lifetime where a division is going to keep not only be competing over division titles and championships next year, but they're going to be fighting over the best coach possible. And we are going to talk about that. Actually, we're going to talk about that, and that's about it because we got some candidates that we want to talk about. But first, let me introduce to you Coach Maxson. He is from Cincinnati. He's going to be our Cincinnati insider tonight, and he's going to talk about somebody I'm pretty interested in. But after hearing what he said about him in the pre talk there, I'm kind of discouraged, to be honest with you. But he's going to be here. He's going to give us his insight, being on the ground there in Cincinnati. We'll get into that. But first, there was major news today. Mike Tomlin, Mr. Mike Tomlin, former coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, decided to step down today because, well, he lost another playoff game. Unfortunately for you Pittsburgh fans, you guys, we've won more playoff games than you guys in the last decade or so, I believe. So take that, Pittsburgh. It's been
about
1
10 years.
Yeah.
How crazy was that game? 3 turnovers and you still win.
You still lose
that battle.
Dude, it's not just 3 turnovers. They were 3 either in the Texans' own red zone or right in scoring position, just game-changing turnovers, and just they capitalized with 6 total points off of them, and that's absurd.
Shout out to Ray from the Tuscarawas Browns backers. He said Mike Tomlin left his basement for an interview. I hope not, man. I don't want Mike Tomlin here. I do, but I don't. I think it's time to get. I will save that. My opinion.
I'll tell you exactly what just happened right there, Angel.
What?
You know all the coaches that are available now, and in the middle of the year when everybody's like, fire Mike, we're like, we'll take him.
No, I would take. I think I would take Mike, but I think I would want to. I just see younger.
He's smart. He is smart.
He's a good guy. Either way, they lost majorly to the Houston Texans at home again. Let's talk about this for a little bit. Is this? I was talking to a Pittsburgh fan earlier today. I sent you guys the thread. They're blaming all this on Mike Tomlin, and it's kind of like here for me. It's it's not all on Mike. They've had a quarterback since he's been there because all he does is win. They did not say, hey, I mean, he probably refused to call it in or to tank anyways. But when you don't have a quarterback and you're patching up that major asset on your team every year with a veteran who's on his last end of his career, this is going to be the result every year, right? You win in the playoff, you win in the season, and when it comes to where it matters, you tank.
It has been the result every year. They've gone to the playoffs 8 of the last 10 years, and they're in and out of the wild card round immediately and don't kill the messenger. You can't win without a quarterback. We've been talking about it for so long, and it's I guess you can put it on Mike Tomlin if you want. In my personal opinion, if you put Josh Allen on that team, they win the last 5 Super Bowls. That's just I can't prove it. I'd believe it. But you can't put Russell Wilson half a season, Fields half a season, 44-year-old Rodgers. Pickett was probably the most steadiest quarterback they've had there in years, and he was young and not good when they had him there. So they just
also too they have no receiver outside DK Metcalf. He was the only
You
person.
don't talk about Kenny Pickett and his
Yeah,
hands.
you
The
don't
other
talk
one
about Kenny
fell.
Pickett. You didn't draft receivers other than DK. I mean, you went in free agency for him. Your offensive line's okay, and you haven't drafted anybody. Even the running back Ken Johnson, which I'm kind of surprised this past year, he has not done nothing.
He had like
I thought he was
65
gonna be
yards this
something else.
season.
Yeah. So I was talking to my friend who's a Pittsburgh fan. I'm like, you guys had the same problem we've currently had where we fire a coach and then we forget the fact that our drafts have been horrible and expect them to make meatballs out of dirt, but he disagreed with me. But
I'm gonna
that's what
try
Pittsburgh
that.
fans.
I mean, they could have
Meatballs out
signed
of
Sam
dirt.
Darnold.
Sam Darnold,
That's what I was going to say.
There
The
were
problem-
quarterbacks on the market this
Yes.
this offseason, and they chose Aaron Rodgers, but
They
you look
were
at
in the same, they were not in the same situation as the Browns, where it's like you can't spend big on a free agent quarterback to on a good deal because you have 42 million sunk into the guy that's supposed to be doing that. They've had they came in and out of Pickett, I think, too early. But to Jordan's point, the last 3 seasons, if they were going to bring in a quarterback, they didn't have to bring in the ones they had. Sam Darnold would have had it been a complete turnaround from what they've been doing. And there were others. It's not just Darnold, but they've chosen wrong a lot of times.
And then when they draft receivers and they get their headaches like Pickett and then Pickens, and then he's gone. And then you have nobody to bring in to replace him. I mean,
and I don't know their
they've had
dynamic.
draft issues too.
I don't know their draft dynamic. I don't know. Tomlin's been there so long. I don't know how much input he has on particular players or even directions of the team. But I will remind everybody, and it's a player that you guys know I'm still really skeptical of. But the Pittsburgh Steelers picked 21 and Jackson Dart went 25. They had no interest this year in Tyler Shuck
or Shedeur
Jackson
Sanders,
Dart, who were all just sitting there. And so when you see Tomlin's steps away, they couldn't get it done. Well, they could have had Jackson Dart sitting on the bench this entire season behind Aaron Rodgers and just been sitting there for his first playoff game in a very Green Bay model. And next year you could be rolling in with a sophomore Jackson Dart. And my skepticism of Dart is he needed a lot of development, and in typical bad team fashion, the team that drafted him put him in really early and let him throw for 50% completion percentage and get knocked in the head 3 times. A good team, a steady team, was the team to pick Jackson Dart and let him sit there behind Rodgers. Rodgers is a nutcase, but if he just watches the way he studies, understands the game, and just takes a redshirt year, there's no way they're looking around and being I'm sure glad we drafted our 70th defensive lineman in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we have no quarterback. I could see Tomlin just sticking around if they had Dart, because you'd go out of this season thinking, man, next year is going to feel pretty good when Rodgers steps down and our young sophomore franchise quarterback steps in.
Yeah.
But
Coach Maxon, what do you have to say?
I want to kind of echo on, a good team's mentality, what he was saying, I'll hold the clipboard, but in reality, that hasn't been the NFL model for a while.
Yeah.
And that's why you see such a quarterback carousel, whether it's a Malik Willis, whether it's a Sam Darnold, the list just goes on and on and on. You got these guys doing a plug and play on their second and third team before they actually find a home. The time, it just doesn't exist anymore. Nobody holds a clipboard their first year. When you draft a quarterback in the first round in this era, it's, you're throwing them straight to the wolves and they either survive or they don't. And you could even say that about Joe Burrow and the horrible offensive line and his, early injury in his career. Me as a Cincinnati fan, I would have loved to seen him hold a clipboard like Carson Palmer did under John Kitna for his first year when Kitna went 8-8, and then Palmer started with a little bit more knowledgeable. But that's just, you look at the quarterback. I've never seen so many quarterbacks in this era, go from team
moving
to team.
around, especially moving around. Yeah, you're right.
It's a wild time, but just kind of close on that thought there.
No, but I think that's totally right. I think the only question is if somebody could have pulled it off. Tomlin had the security and the clout to do it. You have a team with an Aaron Rodgers that like you're not gonna just bench Aaron Rodgers. Like you have an excuse to not put Dart in, even if they were like meddling around 500, because you're like, I'm not gonna be the team to bench Aaron Rodgers, and like that sounds like a nightmare. But like you're right, they just don't do it anymore. If I thought the one team that could have broke that mold this year, the Steelers were set up to do it, and they passed, and now they're gonna pick 25th in 24th or something like that in next year's draft, and chances are there's not a quarterback sitting there for them there either. At least they have the ability to get a free agent if they want.
But they're going to have to do what the Seahawks did. They're going to have to find one of these guys that flashed enough coming out, coming off the bench. Whether I personally think it's Malik Willis from Green Bay. I think he's going to walk and test free agency because he's definitely going to get a job somewhere. I'm not saying it's going to be Pittsburgh for sure, but
I think that's the only one.
You look at, well, I mean, depending on the 49ers, the old Patriots quarterback, his mind slipping my name right now.
Mac Jones. You're right.
Mac Jones could be another candidate that, did enough for San Francisco to test free agency and get another start.
The only difference is I think he's on a 2-year deal, so I think he has one more year there. So you'd have to actually trade them for him.
Well, I mean, if you're Pittsburgh, you'd be willing to let go.
Oh yeah,
San Francisco doesn't have a lot of picks. That's how they built their team.
Right.
Coach Maxson, you guys are currently sitting. Speaking of draft, you guys are sitting at 10. I'm very interested in who you think. I feel like I know who I would like there, even though I'm not a Cincinnati fan. But who do you think you guys should draft at number 10?
I'm just going to go with position group. It's got to be a defensive tackle or a defensive end. But, I mean, saying that, it scares me because you look at our draft history, it's not great when it comes to defensive linemen post Marvin Lewis era. So I'd almost, I think the tackle from Miami, because I do think Orlando Brown Jr. is on his way out, although he had a resurgence. If you look at his PFF grade this year, he had a much better year than he did previously.
Oh, someone else uses PFF, guys. Wow. Wow. We're nerds. We got another nerd in
we
this.
Get so much. Guys. I don't know what your show is. I don't know what it's like on your show, Jordan, but
we get slack.
Every time we bring up PFF here, the comments are like, nerds, or like, PFF is bullcrap. And I'm like, okay.
Sorry, go ahead. I just want to point that out.
Okay.
Yeah. But I would like to see the, we call him the anchor on our show, the tackle from Miami would absolutely be a long-term 10-year investment.
See,
that I think would be a sure thing.
Because that's a need. Like, even for me, it's like we're sitting at 6, and I'm like, man, I know we need a receiver. Yeah. I know we need an offensive lineman, but I would love Caleb Downs. Selfishly, if somehow we can get Caleb Downs on this defense,
it's never best available. It's best available at a position you need.
Yeah, I get it.
Or a position that's too good to pass.
I mean, the best available worked under the Marvin Lewis era. I mean, the year we drafted Tyler Eifert, we still had Jermaine Gresham on the roster, among other players at tight end. So, it's possible to draft best available in the first 2 rounds and not necessarily feel a need.
Rare,
but it's rare, but
while you're here, Jordan, I'm going to call you Jordan because I've always called you Jordan.
I was going to call him, but I didn't want to be rude because I saw Coach Max, and I was like, I don't want to be rude. He must be called Coach.
I've always called him Jordan, so that's happening. What do you think of the Joe Burrow issues right now? With their talks about him not coming back to Cincinnati and all that.
And on a related question, does it have to do with their offensive coordinator?
I don't think it has anything to do with the offensive coordinator. I think it's the front. I think it's the front office. I think it's the fake GM that we have, Duke Tobin, not making the right decisions. Not the front office, not willing to plug and play in the regular season. You look at, a team like the Chicago Bears that went and got C.J. Gardner-Johnson the minute he went on waivers, and teams that plug in their holes with temporary talent. And the minute, we knew we had a defensive issue, we did nothing. We sat idle. We continued to play young guys. The minute Trey Hendrickson went down for longer than 3 weeks, we should have, tested the waiver wire or gave up a 3rd or 4th rounder to somebody else. And we were serious about going to the playoffs. And I think that's what it comes down to. I don't think it's necessarily Joe Burrow is unhappy, statistically or on Cincinnati or the offensive coordinator. I think it's just the front office because, everything is on the defense right now. I think we were top 3, 272 yards a game passing, and, some other big time games that we had, even Joe Flacco against Chicago threw for damn near 500 yards. So I think the offense and the offensive system, regardless of who calls the plays, is fine. But the rest of the team in the front office is the issue on why, if he exits Cincinnati, it's gonna be a purely front office issue.
Two things really quick. I would never trust a guy named Duke Tobin, but secondly, you're somewhat of a Browns fan as well. You watched Joe Flacco leave here and then go to that first game and throw for a million yards. Not realistically, but what did that mean to you as somewhat of a Browns fan as well? How did you feel about the Browns offensive line, wide receiver core, and all that leading into that first Cincinnati game where Joe Flacco came out there and dominated for you guys?
I mean, it just kind of showed what Cleveland needs. Cleveland needs to revamp their offensive line because for damn near a decade, you guys have always been great at the offensive line. You guys have always had guys like Joe Thomas. You guys have always had, guys that have come up and really been able to play. So to see that deterioration post his retirement is something that is a need. I know you guys have went out and, drafted some guys that just didn't fit, but it really showed that Joe Flacco wasn't the issue in Cleveland. It was kind of everybody else around him. And, whether that's your receiving core, I know you got a young guy that his name's slipping my mind too. So I apologize. I'm having a rough night, but you have a young guy that you just drafted that did, almost 800 yards as a rookie.
Oh, Fannin.
Fannon's extremely promising. I think he's a wide receiver, not necessarily two. I think he's an A1 wide receiver. I think if you pull in another guy, you'll have a good tandem. But it just kind of showed the weaknesses in Cleveland right now, especially offensively, because, like I said, Flacco came in and threw for 1,000 yards plus in 3 games for Cincinnati. Post departure in Cleveland, and a lot of that's going to be your offensive line and wide receivers. I think if you guys shore that up, you'll definitely have something cooking there.
It helps that you have T. Higgins and Chase to throw to.
I mean, it helps.
Even Brown, I mean, he had especially toward the end of the year, Brown, your running back, had a really good surgeons there. I think they found somebody good there.
I will say, I think we finished 7th in the league offensive line as a unit. So this has also been the best offensive line this year. Dalton Reisner came in and played right guard amazingly. Our rookie left guard that we drafted played great. Our second-year tackle and Nims played great. Ted Karras had a resurgent year as center. It was out of the last 3 years, statistically, this was his best year. PFF grade, attack me in the comments. But and Orlando Brown Jr. also kind of had a little bit of resurgence here on the left side as well. So I think that, Flacco coming behind a top 10 offensive line also helped regardless because, Higgins missed 2 out of his 3 games that Flacco started. And, our tight end group and guys were just kind of dominating, getting open like I've never seen as a Bengals fan.
Yeah. I know Chad tried to point to your offensive coordinator for Joe Burrow's misery, but Joe Burrow had something really good to say. He said, our relationship is good as it gets. I wouldn't be the player I am today without him. That's a crucial thumbs up, Chad, from the quarterback himself. We're getting to Dan Pitcher, the offensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns, for the Cincinnati Bengals. Man, I said Cleveland Browns. Maybe that's a foreshadowing. We'll see. He got a interview for the Browns last week. He's the offensive coordinator. He's been there for 10 years at Cincinnati.
Close to 10 years. He started under the Marvin Lewis era.
2 years as an OC.
Taylor hire.
Yeah, 2 years as an OC. So Callahan left, and they promoted him. So before I get too deep into more about him, how do you feel about Dan Pitcher as an offensive coordinator?
Well, even regardless of my comments offline before we got, here on the program, I don't think he's a bad offensive coordinator. I think he's a little bit handcuffed. I don't like our offensive plays because Zach Taylor does stand in the way of that a lot. That's something we as, Bengal fandom really come down hard on. That's one of the things I extremely dislike about Zach Taylor. He makes those third and long decisions, 4th down decisions. It doesn't go to our offensive coordinator. It runs through Zach Taylor. And I wish the NFL would just stop that shit. You pay a guy to call plays and to have a relationship with the offensive line, receivers, and quarterback. Let him do his job. And I think that's something, Callahan was kind of handcuffed as well before he went over to Tennessee, regardless of how his Tennessee tender, turned out to be. But I don't dislike him. I mean, he's a Chuck Pagano tree guy. He comes from the Chuck Pagano, brought him over to Indianapolis, originally as a scouter.
Yep.
Under the Andrew Luck era when they went, 11-5 before Andrew Luck had his health issues. And, I think that speaks volume. The guy's worked with generational talent everywhere he's been, whether it was Andrew Luck or coming in at the end of the Andy Dalton era when we drafted Joe Burrow. So, you look at statistically, even Andy Dalton didn't have a bad statistical year the last year he was in Cincinnati when we brought him to the forefront under the Marvin Lewis era. So I think he's a great quarterback guy, and I think that's something that probably catches Cleveland's eye.
Yeah.
Because right now, if you stick to Sanders or whoever they pick, quarterback focus is going to be key. And a guy like that who's worked with Joe Burrow, who's worked with Andrew Luck, I mean, there's not a lot of negative things to say there. Like I said, we under his tenure, we averaged 272 yards a game, which has been between first, second, and third in the league passing. So we've always been able to light it up under him. And regardless of you can have all the outside talent you want, but if the quarterback and the plays calls can't get it done, it doesn't mean anything. So I think that, he's a good guy, and I've enjoyed his tenure, but I just feel like he's handcuffed in Cincinnati. And that was my off remark comment.
Oh, good. See, now you make me feel me better. Good. So he's handcuffed. So he's not seeing his full potential. So that's even encouraging. Because I read stories from writers, local writers, I've been reading this week about it. They're very high on him. They're saying that Dan Pitcher's smart. He communicates well. He has high EQ and IQ guys. That's what Andrew Berry said they want. And the fact that he was a former quarterback is crucial too. A matter of fact, 2 of the 3 guys that they're rumored to interview next are actually former quarterbacks that had some success, one in the Big Ten. I think that is the route they may be going. Someone who's a former quarterback, who can think like a quarterback, who can give the quarterback, to communicate to a quarterback in a way a quarterback can listen and hear. How involved was Pitcher in Joe Burrow's development, from the mechanics, game plan, protection, all the other stuff?
I think it was pretty up there, especially once Callahan left, because you saw a little bit more freedom. Callahan was more of a, quick screen guy, get it out, quick slants, things of that nature. And we saw the playbook kind of open up a little bit more after his departure, and really got the tight ends involved. And, something that Callahan just didn't do. We had 3 tight ends this year, 4 tight ends this year with my notes that scored touchdowns. I don't know a lot of other teams that, from tight end 1 all the way down to tight end 4 coming off the practice squad that are scoring big time touchdowns with Joe Burrow. So you look at I think the route tree got expanded. I think his mechanics got expanded. He was releasing the ball a lot faster compared to, things that really got him injured. He held onto the ball a really long time his first 2 years in the league when he played and started. And that's something under Callahan that I think that just the timing was always kind of off. So I think he came in and he cleaned up a lot of Joe Burrow's mechanics and took his generation, what it already was a generational talent, and kind of made it better. You made him read the field better. You saw the routes. We gave him more support with the tight ends, stuff that he can check it down to and be secure. And I think it really elevated Joe Burrow's game to the next level.
Yeah, that's good to hear, right, Chad? I mean, you're happier now.
Here's my devil's advocate, and like just from the jerk that always has something the contrary to say. A lot of the uptalk on this guy is his ability to like work with a quarterback. Don't you feel like putting him in charge of the entire team very heavily takes him away from being able to work with or interact with the quarterback? Because he's going to be probably the quarterback's coach will be with him the most. The OC will be with him the second most. The head coach may be the third or fourth most likely coach to interact with the quarterback. but I hear a lot in coaching searches like, look what he did with this quarterback. And then I'm worried, like, I mean, people said the same thing about Kevin. Like, he did such good work with Kirk Cousins. Then he came here and he had all of these other responsibilities. And so he couldn't, like, do the same level of quarterback work. And then my other secondary, like, might as well just pile these on top of each other. Number 2 is I don't believe we have a quarterback that's any good on this roster. So it's like, you could tell me, like, this is a quarterback guru, the greatest quarterback coach of all time. And I'm going to go, okay, so then can we get a quarterback that I think is any good in here for him to work with?
This is when Chad runs the PFF.
I want to backtrack what you're saying, because you look at a coach like Andy Reid, who is all over Patrick Mahomes, regardless of who the offensive coordinator is. So being a head coach and working with your quarterback is very doable in this league without necessarily handcuffing your OC. Because you look at their relationship, you look at Jordan Love's relationship, regardless of what's going on with the coaching post, their playoff game over in Green Bay with LaFleur. It works. And you look at the relationship over in Detroit with the head coach and quarterback. So I don't think that, in this day and age, that you can't be hands-on with the quarterback. You can't teach him and you can't guide him, because there are other coaches in the league that do it very successfully.
Yeah, and Kevin did it with Shador. They did the Hungry Dogs. They would come in early and he would mentor them.
Which makes me more nervous because it didn't work. But
it didn't work probably because of the quarterback.
That's just my thought. And I think the relationship has to be there. There has to be, like, respect. He has to work well with them. I just think people say, like, he can develop the quarterback. And a lot of what I think of develop is, like, reading defenses, like grinding at film, like working on footwork. And I just don't think the head coach is going to be standing there with him practice after practice doing that. They need to bring the good news about a guy who's really good with quarterbacks is you hope he'd have a good ability to hire someone to do that, and he can guide that person as well. Like, I love having that kind of person in the building. I just get nervous because I think people make this automatic equate of, like, oh, look what this guy did with Sam Darnold. He's going to be the greatest head coach. And you're like, well, I mean, the greatest salesman in the car lot doesn't make the best manager of the same lot. It's just, he's got a particular skill and he's good at it. Can he do the other thing? Or if he focuses on doing the other thing, is he going to lose some of what he was best at?
I mean, but you even look at Jacoby Brissett won 10 games, with him when he was still in the Indianapolis department. I mean, that's got to speak some volumes, because that 1 year that he backed up Andrew Luck and took over for him before we hired him in Cincinnati, that gave Jacoby a long-term career in NFL, whether it was backup or somebody that can plug and play. Mm-hmm. And that stuff doesn't happen overnight. So I'd say that he's pretty well with quarterbacks and backups. You even look at he got Jake Browning somehow, damn near 9 wins. I didn't think about that. Wins.
Yeah.
Last year is a big deal.
Even though that was under Callahan calling the plays, it still this guy came in and worked with him and got him prepped and got him ready. And that was, when he was cut from Minneapolis. So, definitely a guy that can get some guys ready.
Forgot about him. That's actually a good point. I'm writing that down so I can bring that up to people that argue against pitcher. But he's one of my. I have a couple of favorites, early favorite. Two of them they haven't interviewed yet, so I can't really get too excited. But Dan Pitcher is one of my personal, like, he's up there, because I see from what I've been reading from people in Cincinnati, like, that actually see him grow the last 10 years. They have nothing but good things to say about him. Not that makes him going to make him a great coach, but if you see he's working on mechanics and he's developing some quarterbacks and they're learning, and then, people are saying nice things about him, I find that very interesting.
You almost gave Angel a heart attack when you rolled your eyes about him early.
Yeah, I was like, man, dude, this is my guy right now. This is my Kenny Pickett right now. This is the guy I've been holding on to. If Dan Pitcher, next, you said Max, like, it's going to be a long summer, long off season. If Dan was to come here and become a Browns head coach, what part of the Bengals offense would translate to Cleveland and what parts wouldn't? I know we don't have Joe Burrow here. That's the main part.
Right. But I think the same philosophies. I think your tight end room would be elevated. I think you'd see a lot of 2 and 3 tight end sets, much like Cincinnati, even though we have, a pretty deep receiving core. I think you're automatically, receiver is going to be upgraded, whether it's via free agency or that's probably one of the top things he's going to take in a draft if that's who you hire, because I think he's going to keep Shedeur Sanders as day one, regardless of if you think he's not on the roster or not. Shedeur Sanders going from, quarterback 5 before you got rid of Kenny Pickett to quarterback 1, not a lot of time to get ready and be prepared for real-time gameplay in the NFL. So, those are my personal comments on the matter. But I think you'll see an elevated screen game. I think you'll see a better run zone.
Okay.
Zone runs, stuff of that nature, with the quick backs that you do have already. I mean, look, we took a 7th rounder in Chase Brown and made him 1,000 yards on the ground, 400 yards in the air. You already got an amazing running back from Ohio State and Ole Miss combined, from college. That dude's ready. I think you'll see an automatic elevation on, his performance, both in a pass game and in a run game combined. So, I think those are the things that are going to come with him from Cincinnati.
You bring up screen game, and a lot of people don't know this, but I do because I'm bored. Shedeur had the best, as far as quarterbacks over 200 throws, had the best percentage in the screen game this year. And that's where his bread and butter was. Like in a screen game, Sampson obviously got speed. That's like when people say, well, he averaged his air yard, he averaged this much. I'm like, yeah, but his yards, like short yardage throwing, it's like 5 yards but the yards, sure. Yeah. He averaged 8, but in the air it was like 4 to 5. But because of the screen game worked so well for him. And I think I find that encouraging for me because I think as Kevin's offense, I wonder if Dan Pitcher's the same way. That's what I'm going to translate here. Does he work from inside the line out, or does he work out from into the line?
I think he works from inside out because you look at a lot of the
Kevin.
Bengals runs start on the inside, and we hit them with that zone, and those are the runs that once we suck all the linebackers in, and we get everybody they're going to go in between the tackles, and he changes it up. And that's when we hit the home run balls in the run game. So I think, you have two backs.
I think that will favor Shedeur because I think he did well with that. Once they started setting up that screen game, that's when he was able to throw to Isaiah Bond or even Judy when he decided to catch some balls here or there. So I can see that working well. And now I can see why they interviewed Dan, because Dan is probably a replica of Kevin, just maybe more innovative in the way he approaches things. I hope. At least. Well, I guess we'll see. Either way. So you don't have to answer that last question about Shedeur because it seems like you're a fan of Shedeur and you think he can develop Shedeur.
Absolutely.
Nice. See, that's encouraging, Browns fans. You see, I'm on Dan Pitcher, and part of the reason why is because I think he can develop quarterbacks. And
look at that. We're bringing another baseball guy called Pitcher right to the Browns. Another baseball guy.
We can all agree the quickest way to success is having a quarterback on this team that's currently on the roster to rise up amongst the gravel of dirt that we've had there in Huntington Bakefield to rise up and to be a star. So for me is I want to go all in on whoever it is, whether it's Watson or Shedeur, and hopefully one of these guys that are going to come in offensively and change the culture to where, I think Shedeur can be good. And I've said this a couple of times on the podcast. Like, I think for the next couple of years, he might need to manage the game just to get comfortable with learning defenses and, the speed of the game, whatever. And I do think he can blossom into something special. My issue, and Chad would agree, is his decision-making is sketchy.
Hero ball. He loves
his
hero ball.
Yeah.
The question would be, which coach, is it Dan Pitcher or somebody else that can reel him in without breaking who he is, and that's tough.
Shedeur stands for?
I think Kevin tried to reel him in, but it didn't work. He just performed really poorly.
But
do you think?
Go ahead. Sorry. When you start when you start quarterback 5, how much reeling in do you really mentally take? I mean, like I said, he had 4 other quarterbacks on a roster above him.
Reel him in, get him to stop trying to go downfield on every play because every play doesn't need to be
because you don't have a receiver to
Travis
throw
Hunter. Right. You're in the NFL now. You can't just be like, I'm going to launch it. Travis will get under it, and then we're going to score. And it was very apparent that they were trying to hold him out to like let him get over some college habits, to me anyway. And then when he got in, it was still a lot of like, I'm going to run around and I'm going to make this play. And Angel and I did a ton of like film reviews, and it was always like, okay, hike 1 second, 2 seconds. Jerry Jeudy is open for like a 4-yard gain.
Yeah.
Shador rolls
Unreliable.
out, right, cuts back, rolls back, like tries, and then he goes deep with it and it's picked. And you're like, you got to take that 4 yards and maybe he can break it for another 3, like 5, 6, 7. But there were so many instances where he skipped a short throw to really try to make something big down the field. And when I say reel him in, is like, you know, is there a coach that can work with him to get him to stop doing that? You know, we knew our offensive line wasn't great. The coaches knew, the quarterback knew, but for some reason he still played the game as if he had all the time in the world. And I think if he's going to be the coach, or if he's going to be the quarterback that starts for us next year, the coach is going to have to be somebody that is so good at both communicating, but also like collaborating with someone that they can not take away his confidence or his ability to go downfield, but can convince him, you know, guys he's mentioned in the past, like Tom Brady, don't do that. They take that when it's there, and when it's not, they take any positive play they can until they just devastate a defense.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to throw to Jerry Jeudy when you can't trust him to catch the ball, though. Even on a 4-yard
he had like
pass.
one drop. He had like one drop from Shador Sanders.
Yeah. And I had to talk to somebody.
Too often.
You watched him throughout the whole year.
Too often.
He did drop a lot more early in the season with Dylan
he dropped
and
way
Joe,
more
but
earlier
he
in the
did
season.
catch his percentage.
Probably,
catching
imagine him
was
doing
better
it at
with Shador.
practice.
The
Here, let me
problem
reel
with
you. Hold on. Let me reel you in a little bit, Chad. Look at Caleb Williams last year, right? Complete shit, right? Well, not complete shit. I mean, he did okay, but it's a turd. He was a turd last year. This year, coaching changes, development happened. You're not going to come out your rookie year and be Tom Brady every single time, and with a bad offensive line and not wide receivers. I don't want to talk about Shador all night, but there's people that have done it, came back their sophomore year and dominated in the league, and that could happen. I'm not saying that he's going to be that guy, but there's a strong possibility it can happen with a coaching change and the right development.
Yeah. So Caleb Williams had 20 touchdowns and 6 interceptions and had a 63% completion percentage. Shador had 7 touchdowns.
All right, pull up fancy PFF and tell me what their offensive line was and their receivers were like.
Caleb Williams did have a horrible line last year too.
Yeah, their line was bad. Like, I'm just saying, like,
he fixed it in the offseason. He had the same receivers he had this year outside of.
Yeah, he had the same receiver. That didn't change. What changed was he changed. They got a coach in there that did a better job of working with him.
That coach.
Yeah, they changed the coach, and that can make the difference if the coach is capable of working with him. I'll ask this. Dan Pitcher may be incredible. Is anybody talking about Dan Pitcher the way they were talking about Brad for Chicago or when he was with the Lions?
Ben.
Brad Johnson was coach candidate number 1, and everyone almost unanimously was like, get this guy anywhere, and that team is going to thrive, and that's what happened. I'm just going to say, like, I hope Dan Pitcher can do that, but I think Brad Williams was that best coaching candidate for that job, and Caleb Williams was the first pick in the draft, Mike, and he had a disappointing rookie season because he didn't live up to that, but he didn't have a bad rookie season. He threw for more yards per game. He threw for more touchdowns than interceptions. His PFF scores and his EPA,
but he started the year
QBRs.
with a team. He started a team.
Yeah, he didn't have to wait 4 months. You know, under everybody's thumb.
3 other guys.
But we talk about 4 months like it's a curse. Like, it gives you more time to develop and get ready. You are better. You are better if your first game is game 10 than if your first game is game 1. Find me an NFL coach in the league that says my quarterback is better off in game 1 than he would be if he started game 10. No head coach or quarterbacks coach is going to say that. They want extra time to work with you and get you ready. And I'm not saying, like, of course, his 16th game in the season will be better than his first, no matter when he starts. But no coach in the NFL, literally, Matt LaFleur came out and he said, if every single quarterback sat for their first year, the entire NFL would be fixed of this quarterback problem. But we don't do it because we're impatient. And that theory resonates with coaches in the league. They know the longer I have to work with this person before he's out there under fire, the better he should look to start. And it doesn't always happen. But to all the people out there that are like, if he started in the first game, he would have been awesome. He might have gotten killed. He might be out of the league if he started the first game. We
What I'm
don't
saying is
know, but I'm just saying
giving me
it's not an
stats for a guy that
automatic.
played an entire year
Wait,
when the guy that came in at week 10.
What are you going to say, Coach?
No, I'm just saying, like, it's different if you got drafted and told on draft night, you're going to hold this clipboard for 12 months.
Yeah.
But you're the future. That was not Shedeur Sanders' road. Shedeur Sanders' road was you're drafted because Gabriel's drafted because that's what the GM wants. You're drafted because this is what the head coach wants. And then we signed Kenny Pickett before we shipped him off to Raiderville. And you're in a basement. So he started with the mentality of being in a basement. So, I hear you're like, oh, he wants to make these deep throws. He's probably like,
feels like he has to.
He feels like he has to. And not playing behind a great line, I wouldn't compare him to Caleb Williams, because Caleb Williams, the Bears went and got him, elite receivers. The Bears went and got DJ Moore. The Bears went and got good tight ends. He had weapons on the outside. He had Darnell Mooney before he went.
I'm saying we don't have weapons. That's what I'm saying. We don't have any weapons.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that. That's not my point. It's less of that, and it's more of like, there's got to be a head coach in here. If he's going to be the guy, there has to be a head coach in here that can really both harness him and at the same time, like, calm him down. Okay. And that's a hard thing to do. It's hard to be like, Dylan Gabriel he's calmed down already. You're the opposite. You're going to be out there begging him to throw the ball down the field. There are those guys. There are guys that you're like, dude, you got to take some chances or we're never going to win a game. And I think some guys are talented, but will never be a franchise. Like Jacoby Brissett will never be a guy that you're like, you got to dial it back. You're trying to do too much. He just doesn't go that. He doesn't have that kind of that mentality or ability. But like for Shedeur, it's the opposite. Like he really wants to go for it. You need somebody, to me, that can, you need a group of coaches that can get him to take a step back and take a breath and come to that mentality that you don't have to do this all on your own and you don't have to like make a hero play every time, but you also can't take away those things that make him special, like that ability to not buckle to pressure, or that Pittsburgh game or that Cincinnati game that you watched, Coach, to end the season, that he had a terrible game, but that last drive that he had in for the win versus Cincy, he didn't miss a beat. Like it looked to me like it did not affect him at all that there was a minute and 40 seconds to get that ball in scoring range. And some guys, to me, that's a very like innate trait that some people can just do that. So you don't want that to go away. But
I mean, on top of being sacked 6 times, I mean, the guy played cool collective.
Yeah, I agree. We're going to let you go here, Coach. Thanks for joining. But first, before we let you go, give us every site that you're on, every because you have a podcast, Max Report, right?
Yes, sir.
So let people know you just had a Ohio State commit on yesterday on your site. So give everybody where they can follow you, and trust me, it's a good podcast. I watched that episode yesterday that you had. I recommend give him a follow. It's really good. What is all your handles?
We appreciate it. You can find we're still under the Ohio Sports Talk at. So visit us at Ohio Sports Talk. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. Twitter, also known as X. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're on Facebook. Give us a like. Give us a share. Come visit our YouTube channel. We have all of our replays there. We got the Ohio State commit. We had Coach and Lieutenant Governor Jim Trussell on before that. So we're always having good guys come on. And,
they also had didn't you have Trussell on too?
Yeah. We had Jim Trussell on twice leading up to the game. So it's a fun time.
You guys are covering Ohio State. Obviously, you're covering Cincinnati. What do you guys span on? What else?
Right now, our primary focus, our last couple of guests outside of Jim Trussell have been high school athletes going up to the next level. We're trying to give them a voice We've had West Virginia commits come on. I had Mr. Football of Ohio runner-up that's committed to Air Force on before that. So we got these guys going to the next level on college, giving them a voice, giving them, who they are as a person, getting a personality out there so they can get their brand, the NILs, attention, anybody that's willing to kind of take them to the next level, and really just kind of explaining who they are, outside the talent and numbers. So it's been a fun experience working with definitely some young guys.
That is
All
awesome.
right. Yeah, we'll have you back on. Maybe we can have you on when we play Cincinnati next year.
That means you'll be on twice.
Little game going.
I could count.
I'm for it. And you guys have any other draft stuff coming up? I'd love to be back on closer to April because, a lot going on our division.
That's a good idea, actually. I do like that. Yes, we could do that. Well, I'm sure we'll have a big draft party with like 12 people in here. It'll be a blast. Chad will hate every one of us.
All right, again.
Bring him back. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. Thanks for coming on. We'll talk over PFF scores later.
Thank you for having me on, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure.
See you soon, man.
Bye.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that was good insight, man. Dan Pitcher, he's handcuffed. Could be better.
Like
it could
I said,
be good.
That's fun because that's the guy that I honestly, like I said, in this list. Somehow him being in our own division, I just didn't know anything about him. So it sounds like he's got a lot of upside in the offensive quarterback room. An odd similarity in the terms of some of the way he talks to Kevin Stefanski, given the fact that those two offenses do not look similar at all. Reasonably, totally different personnel. Like to Mike's point, like if the talent is not there, like it's never going to look the same. But it was interesting to hear some of those things from him.
Yeah, if you can hear, I can see similarities to that as I was like reading up and listening and watching some stuff. That's why I say I think what limited Kevin was the weapons. He didn't have the chase because it was never drafted. It was never given to him. You know what I mean? So I think if he had the weapon, he would have used the weapon. But we can't beat the dead horse with it. But our next guy, we're talking about candidates. The candidates that we've recently interviewed are those that are rumored to be interviewed. Also, too, before we end there, also, too, what's intriguing about Dan Pitchers, he talked about Indy. He spent some time in Indy under Coach Pagano. Also, who was there was Andrew Berry. Andrew Berry was his boss in the scouting. So he was a scouter and then turned into a quarterback coach and then OC. So there's a connection there with him and Andrew Berry, something to watch for.
And do not underestimate that because there often is.
Always a connection. There's always a connection. So that's why
it's not always like we work together. Sometimes it's like Andrew Berry worked in Philly for a while. And so they have a good relationship. And somebody's like, hey, you guys should interview this guy. We love him. Like that kind of stuff just happens in the NFL.
Yeah.
It's part of the reason why there's a Rooney rule.
Yeah. I saw
guys just hire who they know and like.
Yeah. I saw someone post like, we don't know who Dan Pitcher is. Like, well, that's good. That's why you turn into the podcast because I know who Dan Pitcher is because he's interviewed. Everyone that's interviewed, you should try to find out who it is because if he might be your coach one day, because that's
the other thing is you don't want to surprise.
Works.
You don't want a like, oh, we hired Kevin Stefanski and I've never heard of him. So I hate that hire. Like get in where somebody can tell you at least a little about him. And that way you will be like a little more aware. Same as the draft. You know how many people were like, I just never thought we'd take Mason Graham. We talked about Mason Graham on like 5 shows. And like, come on in, like get the news. Like we'll give you something.
I mean, I get it though, because fans are looking at the big names. They're looking at John. They're looking at Gruden. They're looking at now they're looking at Tomlin. So they're looking at these big names thinking, hey, this organization is going to go after this. Yeah. Then you haven't watched your organization because your organization typically don't go after names like that because Kevin was not a big name. Kevin, they said it himself, was the only team they interviewed twice with was Kevin. That's it. Kevin was the only team that interviewed them twice and they hired him. So that's why for me, paying attention to people like Dan Pitcher is as important as paying attention to a guy named John Harbaugh. Because overall,
it is worth like keeping your eye on people not named Harbaugh, McDaniel,
or Schwartz.
Tomlin, Gruden. Stop
Jim
looking at
Schwartz.
Gruden.
we got to keep it realistic, guys. The guys that are on the
Yeah.
team, such as Tommy Reese and Schwartz, there's a process at the end of every year where
Right.
no matter what, they're getting interviewed.
100%.
So
Now James Frank is now intrigued by a pitcher. So
You see, this is what we do. We bring insight to the listener. Okay.
the last time Angel was intrigued by somebody,
He got traded.
James Frank actually sent me these.
So James Frank is going to send you a baseball for a pitcher.
The other
But
one
either way.
fell when I
So
went to go
Dennis-
pick- yeah.
I have a couple more guys I'm
Dennis says
interested
that
in.
Dennis says that Harbaugh and Schwartz he thinks is the top two. And I think that's kind of the point. Those two are very obvious, but we don't know if the organization, to Angel's point, is looking at the same way as we are, because we know them better and we know some things about them and we know what they can do, and we haven't heard a lot about the others. People in the NFL have. Andrew Berry knows a lot more about pitcher, Durde, Munkin, Minter than we would, because those aren't people that we would get to know. They're not in the spotlight. Pitcher's not in the spotlight. So just
That's why
a
I wanted to
warning,
bring
like,
him
keep
to
your
the
eye
table.
on the underdogs here.
And that's why I asked Jordan to come on, because I knew he's a Cincinnati guy and he would know more. And the fact that in the beginning, it did scare me because he was like, "You got to give you that wide eye." I'm like, "Crap, that's not good. This not going to be good for me."
I know.
But-
Just like,
Yeah, but there seems like he thinks pitcher can be a good coach. He's just handcuffed by the coach, Zach Taylor there now. On to somebody we do know that we're very familiar with, Tommy Reese. What do you guys take on that? You guys for him? You guys are thinking, hey, let's get Tommy a chance.
I just don't see any world where you take Tommy Reese in like his third year in the NFL and you put him as a head coach and that is taken seriously by some of the players on the team are older than him. Like I'm not saying age is everything. I know people are really excited
Yeah.
about young people, but the guy's got 3 years of NFL experience. Do you think he can hire a full NFL staff of like 16 assistant coaches? Does he even know that many people? Or are the Browns like, we know those people will help you.
Yes.
We're not worried about that. We'll keep the DC. But like,
Yes.
you're Jim Schwartz, you also basically applied for this position. You feeling real excited for Tommy Reese to be your boss?
I mean,
I wouldn't be.
yeah, I mean, he worked with them. You would have to,
With
you'd
him.
have to get a feel of that. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, how would you
That's
like
a
to be
very
the
good point.
64-year-old at your business who has 29 years of experience and your boss looks at you and goes, "Hey, you know that guy we hired last year? We're actually making him your boss. So go
Take
report to
that.
him now. He's
He's
going
like-
to give you some
he's-
real tips on how to change your things around in practice."
He's like, I'll go to Baltimore.
Not only that, I
That's
would
why.
say I want to keep Jim Schwartz as our defensive coordinator. I'll say that 100%. The guy has led this defense to a top 3 defense in the league, and that is very important. Obviously, you want a head coaching job, but you didn't do well in Detroit. Stay where you're at with the players that you've built up, the defense that you built. And that's a big no on Tommy Reese being a head coach in Cleveland, because he is an offensive mind, but I think he's still stuck on some college mentality as well. I don't
Andrew
think he's really.
Siciliano made a comment that I heard this week that was like, Tommy Reese will be a head coach either in the NFL or he will take over a college team, and it's going to happen soon. So like that kind of an endorsement from somebody that's been around so many NFL and college guys is positive to me. It's just, is it gonna be here, and is here the best spot for somebody with that little experience in this volatile of a situation? So
Yeah.
I'm kind of with you on that. Mike is like, feels pretty risky for that guy to be the guy here.
Yeah, Mike just brought up Jim Schwartz. He's our next candidate on the list here. Pros about Jim Schwartz. He's won the 2023 Assistant of the Year. He was the actual NFL coach from 2009 to 2013. Now, here's the thing I don't understand. I think I brought this up to you guys. He only had one stint as an NFL head coach. And then you get people like Pat Shurmur, who look just dumb, darn right, and horrible, leave the Browns and then go to the Giants and get another job. It's weird to me that this guy, granted, he didn't do too well with good talent in Detroit. And again, he's not in charge of the offense. He probably was in charge of the defense. has not gotten a job.
He's only
The
had.
second time
I thought
around.
I read that like this year was the first time he's had another head coaching
Yeah.
interview. He was out of the league for a few years. Mike Vrabel brought him back
Yeah, that's
into the
what's
fold.
like doing my research on him. I'm like, how is it that he's never got a because most coaches get second runs. Like Matt Eberflus will probably get a second run. He was the freaking coach from Caleb Williams, and he was horrible. But like Jim Schwartz has never gotten a. Not saying that I want him to have a second run here, but it's weird. It makes sense why Baltimore kind of interviewed him to see where they're at with that. And the owner did say, "We will pick a coach. We may pick a coach with a losing record, as long as he fits the culture here." So we've had 2 coaches here with losing records. That's Schwartz and Kevin. So, and they both interviewed there. Something to think about.
Um,
That
can I
would
make
be
like a presumptuous assumption
yes.
that kind of like people aren't going to want to hear this? I'm going to get. I might as well talk trash about Shador Sanders when I say that.
Oh, what happened? No,
Maybe Jim Schwartz.
I muted you for like 1 second. Sorry.
Maybe Jim Schwartz just sucks.
Yeah.
And our
I'm-
defense is just that good.
As a head
No,
coach.
I mean, maybe people don't like working with him. Maybe he does not a good interviewer. Maybe, like I said, maybe the best car salesman on the lot is kind of the person that annoys the most other coworkers, and people don't want to work with him. But guess what? He's darn good at his job, but it's a different job. Like, as long as he's a salesman, they're like, whatever, go do your thing. But if
That's a good
somebody
point.
finds out, like, oh, they're making him our boss, like, oh, I hate working with him. Like, maybe there's a chance he either just doesn't interview well or he just doesn't work well with others. And that's how you end up out of the league and not getting interviews, because that kind of gets around. It's like, dude, he's an incredible DC, but man, he is tough to work with.
Do you also think too that he is a beneficiary of amazing talent on the defensive
The
side?
talent's awesome. Yeah. I think it's both. Like, I'm not going to say like, oh, he has no part of this, because we had like, I just think he is a really good defensive coordinator too. I think a lot of people would vouch for that. Like, he's got a interesting scheme that's always going to be risky, but like
It's beat.
I think
a
he is
couple
good,
times.
but
Yeah.
it's hard to ignore the fact that right now the talent is really good, and they've spent like all of their top draft capital and free agent money
Yes.
on defenders. So they've given him a really good shot. So
Yeah.
maybe
Since
that's
he's
it too. Maybe people look at it and they're like, well, he's done a great job with this defense, but Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, Schlesinger, like,
Mason
how,
Graham, yeah.
you're not looking, nobody's talking about Zach.
Collins.
Jordan Maxson was just talking about basically like, he is obviously not a fan of Zach Taylor, but Joe Burrow and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Brown, like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
gonna work. Yeah,
So-
I'm not sure what coach goes in there and the offense looks awful. Like, they're just really good.
Yeah,
players.
before we move on, Schwartz dominance since he's been here from 2023 to 2025. First in total yards per game with 298, which is the only defense in that time span to average under 300 yards per game in that time span for 2 years. First in
For
opponent's
defense?
first down, 16. First in the
I
third
would
down
say that
percentage.
is the most important stat, is that
Yeah,
the yard. When
yards.
you look at a defense, yards allowed to me is by far the most telling stat of your defense.
And this is why I don't understand why he never got a second opportunity, because you like these are the important stats. This is the only stats I book because they're important. First and opponents first downs allowed with 16. First and third down percentage, meaning they're getting off the field with 33%. First and fourth down percentage, meaning they're stopping people, getting the ball back, which is basically a turnover, with 41%. And first in tackles for loss with 342.
What's that red zone?
Oh, I didn't get the red zone. That is an
Sorry.
important one. I didn't think about that. Next time I need to send that list to you so you can remind me.
No,
That's actually
no,
would've been a good one.
I thought you had it on there. That was my fault.
Yeah.
Here's Angel. Here's a bus, and there's
No. That's actually a good stat. I have to look that up. Actually, to be honest with you, it's probably pretty high because he's not. I do remember them, especially 2024. Their red zone defense was pretty bad.
I think it was like,
By the way,
40-something% of the time they were
nobody
scoring in the
rush
red
out
zone.
and say like, oh, I heard on the Bearded Browns that Jim Schwartz is kind of hard to work with. And that's literally just like a presumptuous
from
statement based
California.
on like I don't know what else it could be. Like he seems
Then you
like
shouldn't have said it.
very
you know,
qualified coach.
I
So
just
like, is it something
yeah.
we would never know? Like he's just a really tough boss.
Dennis just said you guys secretly don't like Jim Schwartz. No, we like Jim Schwartz.
As DC?
I love Jim
We love
Schwartz.
As a
Jim Schwartz as
DC, we
DC.
love Jim Schwartz. We're
You just
saying
say you
nervous
love
about
Jim
him as
Schwartz,
head
D.
coach.
look, listen, we're looking for a coach. Well, I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for the podcast. I'm looking for a coach to maximize this offense.
Mhm.
It's specifically a quarterback that struggled as a rookie last year, especially if you bring him as QB1. Jim Schwartz is a great defensive coordinator. Him being the head coach is not going to benefit the side of the ball in which was the worst in the league for the last 2 years.
I have one counter to that. He has a ton of NFL experience, and there is a very good chance he's connected to at least some really good offensive mind or offensive coordinator. And the best
maybe.
thing you can hope if he were to become head coach is that he does we said, Mike Vrabel is a very well-rounded coach. We all liked him. He was able to keep Josh McDaniel, who is just an incredible offensive coordinator, because they have a relationship already. Like, would Jim Schwartz have a relationship with a offensive group who can come in here and get things done so he doesn't have to worry about it, that he can trust to run the offense?
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying keep Jim Schwartz here. Obviously, he had that top 3 defense in the league. That's just crucial. You need defense to win games, but hire an offensive mind for a head coach. I think that's what we obviously need. Somebody that could produce a quarterback and somebody that could help a rookie quarterback and coming into his second year. No matter who the quarterback is.
I just don't see this organization doing that.
Neither do I.
From what
we
Andrew
do everything
Berry
ass
said.
backwards.
Yeah, from what Andrew Berry said, he's looking for somebody who, and it's specifically, if you break down what he said, he wants somebody to do in-game adjustments. And there's times Jim Schwartz struggles defensively with in-game adjustments. He struggles against the people that are smart, the up-and-comers like the Ben Johnsons, and the Ben Johnsons, even McVay's, the smarter offensive guys he struggles with who are innovative. He struggles to stop that type of offense. And I think they want somebody who is as smart as those guys. And right now, I don't think Jim is that guy. Now, I would keep him from a defense coordinator. If that rumor is true where he would stay.
I won't count him out. As the fact is, if he's going to be kind of a CEO type head coach and he can bring in the right people, that's good. But he doesn't give me the feels as far as like what all of us want to improve next year.
Yeah, that's my worry. Next one is a defensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks, Aden Durde.
No.
Dirty.
I didn't say no. Like I thought you said.
I'm saying no. Yeah, your name says it all. Dirty. No.
Can I do just a mini thing, because we can't stay too long on these guys? But Mike asked earlier, like Jim Schwartz got a request to interview with the Ravens as well for a head coaching job, and Mike asked, like, do you think some of these guys ever just bring a guy in for a head coach interview so they can hire him as a coordinator instead? My answer would be yes, because you bring Jim Schwartz in the building, you interview him for head coach, maybe you love him and you make him a head coach. But maybe the Browns hire Aden Durde and he's a Seahawks defensive coordinator. And he's like, I'm actually going to switch and run the defense. And actually my line coach is going to be my DC. And now all of a sudden Jim Schwartz is a free agent, and the Raiders bring in a head coach and go, hey, we really love Jim Schwartz. Can you work with him as DC? And that's how that connection was already made. They were able to interview him. They couldn't interview him for DC because he signed with the Browns, and you can't do that, but you could interview him for the next up position head coach. And then when he gets released, if he does, you've already had him in your building and you know whether you like him or not. Yeah. So that's the one situation where I'm like, maybe they just want him in the building. And if they like him as head coach, they got him. If they don't like him as head coach, they have a leg up over everybody else who might be thinking about him as DC, which I think most teams would take him as DC.
Yep. Next up is Todd Monken. The thing to talk about Monken is the fact that the reason why Jim was fired is because he didn't want to let go of Monken, and Monken helped Lamar Jackson win the MVP award in 2023 with 41 touchdowns in 2024. And Lamar, all the reports that come out of Baltimore saying Jackson did not want to work with Monken anymore. He wanted him fired. And John said no. And the owner chose to go with Lamar over the opinion of John. So now you have an owner in Baltimore who's side by side with Lamar trying to find a coach that he's happy with. So basically, Lamar's running the team.
Which we've seen before.
Yeah.
We've seen coaches get moved because RG3. They favored RG3 over the coach. And, you know, that kind of stuff, that is not news. And I could see a situation where an owner's like, I love this quarterback and I want to favor him and he's going to be around here longer anyway, or whatever it is. Plus, Todd Monken got let go, but let's just face it, Harbaugh has been there for almost as long as Tomlin, and that stuff does eventually run its course where you hear the same message over and over, and it just doesn't hit the same as it did 10 years ago.
Mike, you like Monken?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm reading the comments, and Dennis keeps on saying Halfley, which he was already here in 2014 as a cornerbacks coach.
Yeah, Ed Baker.
Secondary coach for 2 seasons from 14 to 15. I'm sorry, I was reading up on him. But yeah, Monken. And then he also made the comment that said Monken would come here if Harbaugh was offensive coordinator in Cleveland. Wait, Monken would be Harbaugh offensive
Harbaugh's
coordinator in
OC.
Cleveland.
Yeah. And actually, I agree. That's worth bringing up. Like Monken, again, they got him in the building. They interviewed him for head coach. Is he a legit head coach candidate? Yeah, probably. He's got good NFL experience. He's been successful for multiple teams. He's been interviewed multiple years for head coaching jobs. This isn't his first, like, oh, hey, this is a guy that can do it. He's a reasonable age, but it's also the idea where when the Browns hire Harbaugh in a couple days, guys, it's never.
Did you say the Browns? I got to stop reading stuff. Did you say the Browns hire Harbaugh in a couple days?
I agree with stop
wishful
reading.
thinking.
Pay attention to the show, Mike.
With the 5% chance that you gave us today.
Yes,
I'm saying he said Monken would be Harbaugh's OC in Cleveland. I'm joking. Harbaugh is not going to get hired in Cleveland in my guesstimation. But yeah, I could see if wherever he gets hired, including Cleveland, if he was that attached to Monken that he was willing to like
get fired from him,
lose his job for that guy. Yeah, he'll bring him back. He'll go take him somewhere else too. If Monken doesn't get a head coaching gig, you can bet you've got the start of his staff right there.
Yeah.
Who's mad at your speculation? Look at this. Don't be surprised if Schwartz doesn't get a head coaching job. He might follow Stefanski to be his defensive coordinator somewhere else.
I would not count that out either. And like again, the reason the Browns didn't cut him when he cut Stefanski is because you don't want to make that easy. Yeah. You want if Stefanski goes to the Giants is like, I'm going to bring Schwartz here, and you hire, Todd Monken, and Todd Monken's like, I actually know Jim Schwartz, and I like him, and I want him to stay here as DC. Then you just don't make a move, and Jim Schwartz is staying with you. Yeah. So that is a.
By the way,
reports are out that they want to keep him. Like Todd Monken is a pretty reasonable choice.
I will blame everybody for wanting to fire Kevin if Jim Schwartz leaves. By the way, this show wanted to keep Kevin because we knew this domino effect will happen. Shedeur will be impacted and your coordinators will be gone. And everybody thought, well, you can keep them. It doesn't work that way.
And I like both of our coordinators. I just didn't like the special teams coordinator, but we were worried about what happens to Shedeur, not only his development, because now you're bringing in maybe a whole new offense, new messaging. Like he's been getting literally like special hands-on tutelage from your head coach in the thought that this was a long-term potential option. And worst of all of that, Jim Schwartz is the worst piece you could possibly lose.
Yeah.
He's really good at this.
On to the next side. Mike McDaniel's interview this week. Or was it last week? Man, these days are going together. I was in jury duty today, so all the days are coming together.
This weekend, right?
This weekend. Mike McDaniel's, former head coach of the Miami Dolphins, 35-33 record, 2 playoff appearances, was the Browns receiver coach, and I want to stop there for a second. Was the Browns receiver coach in 2024. There was an incident happened with him and Josh Gordon in the airplane. They got drunk together, and that's what got the ding on Gordon's suspension. But my question is this.
You mean 2014?
Yeah, 2014. What did I say? 20,000. I'm sorry,
You
2014.
were saying 2024, then you said
Oh,
Josh Gordon.
2014.
no,
Yes.
yeah.
My fault.
was-
2014, Josh Gordon. What is one of our main problems on this team, other than quarterback and other than offensive line?
Wide receivers.
Culture.
That all of it, right? All of it. Mike McDaniels is a former wide receiving coach who's developed not only the quarterbacks on Miami, but he's also developed Waddle and the other receivers. What makes it intriguing for me from Mike McDaniels is that we have never had a consistent good receiver here, also quarterback. And he's developed Tua into being a good quarterback. He developed good receivers. So I would be on board if Mike McDaniels comes here as our coach because I think he is innovative. I do think he is smart. A lot of people don't like him because he looks like, a California kid. I personally like the
Browns fan
vibe.
base is gonna hate him.
Yeah, Browns fan base is
Cleveland
going to hate him
Vice
because he
City.
doesn't spit enough. But
Yeah,
went to a
he
smart
does.
kid-
His
He went to
mouth
a
is so
smart kid
numb.
school.
yeah, he went to
He went to
Yale.
a smart kid school, but he does know how to party, and I feel like that's a nice connection with Browns fans. Cleveland fans can party.
Yes. But yeah, for me, I would say thumbs up on McDaniels that they hire him. What about you guys?
I'm okay with it. Honestly, he's a great offensive mind, apparently, and I'm not totally against the guy. I would
So can't grow a beard.
yeah, I gotta stop looking at comments and focus on
He
producing.
can't grow a
and-
beard. He's not. He would
Yeah.
struggle on the show because I have
Ethan
the
just
worst
said that.
beard out of the group, and Mike McDaniel has like a couple patches, like
Patches.
here, one here, one here.
He just looks like,
But-
and you know what? Chad gets on me because I want a nitty gritty coach.
Mhm.
He seems a little soft and he's a little short guy, and he's
Skinny.
he looks like he's about to start Cleveland Vice City, like Grand Theft Auto status. Like it's just
Hey, it'll match up downtown right now. I mean, it'll go well with it. That's why they want
I
to get
don't
the
know.
stadium out of there.
His
one thing they
post
did-
game interviews and all that too are it's funny. So Cleveland will love him because he's got some charisma to bring for sure.
And one
Yeah,
thing
he's
that
definitely he runs a
pointed-
good press conference, but it's
Yeah.
not the style that Browns fans like. He'll talk a lot more than Kevin. He'll spill a lot more, but he's not like
sarcastic.
going to be Tomlin or Dan Campbell, who's just like mean looking. Like it's not that. He's not that guy. He also went to Yale, and so nerd.
He probably does PFF too.
Oh, definitely does PFF.
One negative, though, was the fact that he did not develop a good accountability culture in the locker room, which is why Tua was able to speak so bluntly. But I
culture's a
hope
problem.
that he would learn from that at his second job as the head coach, whether it's here or there. I do like him a lot. Not just here. I just like him personally. I think him working under the guy that was here that we've always talked about that wish he would have stayed here, Shanahan. You learned a lot from him. So I think having that mindset
I was
is
still learning
great.
from him.
Yeah,
he got shafted,
Mc-
guys. He got shafted. Listen, you gave him a quarterback that was subpar, could barely spell his own name because he had so many concussions. Get over it. Let's take him through it.
He was doing good into this
once he
concussion
gets here
thing.
with a good quarterback, then he'll be fine.
And he probably could develop Shador. We don't know. We'll see. Jesse
I doubt it.
Minter.
I doubt it.
Jesse Minter. I said Minter. Jesse Minter is next on deck, the Chargers defensive coordinator. Ranked number 1 defense in Michigan. Mike loves that. Chargers defense was number 1 in scoring, which, by the way, that's good. 17 points a game. I mean, you wouldn't be worried about your defense if you get a guy like this, right? I mean, he's kind of matching what Schwartz has done. Worked with elite programs, Michigan, Baltimore, Vanderbilt.
I wouldn't
son
call
of
him
a
Michigan
coach.
elite. Go ahead.
Jim Harbaugh trusts him. All 8 teams with head coaching openings requested to interview him, so he will be a hot commodity.
That to me is more telling than anything, because what we talked about to open this show is we don't know these guys because we haven't been exposed to him, but the NFL has. They know each other because somebody on this team knows somebody that he works with, and like they talk. And so the fact that that many teams are interested says something. And there's very few exceptions to that. and without like jumping into like the weird little like scenarios of that, I think that is a incredibly telling like fact.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to bounce back here. Greg says if he does, meaning McDaniels, if he does come here, do you think Cleveland's going to give him enough chance to develop Shador? I think they're going to give anybody an opportunity to develop Shador, not just Mike McDaniels. I think that's the focus. They need a quarterback. Mike McDaniels, or Shador, or a quarterback in general, they're going to give him an opportunity.
I don't want to focus. I mean, obviously, if you're going to get rid of Jim Schwartz, then you could bring a defensive guy in. But as of right now, I don't think there's almost if we could find out that Jim Schwartz is going to stay in Cleveland, there's one guy on this list that we're going to talk about last. We are saving the best, in my opinion, for last. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Next is Nate's Ski House. Sorry. Rams passing game coordinator, age 35.
Hassie.
I think is it Hassie? It might be Hassie. I thought it was. I Googled it and I thought it said Ski House.
He's going to be the Browns head coach, so we could remain.
I would be interested in this guy for multiple reasons. The fact that the Rams are throwing for 4,700 yards, 46 touchdowns, and he's part of that because he's the pass game coordinator, meaning he has some insight of how to pass a ball. He has some insight of those plays being drawn up. He has some insight in all that. He is 35 years old. McVay calls him one of the brightest minds in football. If McVay is calling you a bright mind, I like that. Why? Because I think McVay is one of him and Shanahan, hand in hand, the best coaches in the league. Former quarterback, remember I said Painter was a former quarterback? This is the other former quarterback I was telling you guys about earlier. Understands the game from a critical perspective. Rapid riser. He was an OC at Iowa State. Matt Campbell now is gone. I forgot where he went. He went to a different college. He's getting head coach's interview after just one season in the NFL. This kid is smart. He went straight from college, which he was in Illinois, and was the running backs coach right after he was the quarterback and at the Fighting Alumni. And he's been coaching ever since. If there's a dark horse that the Browns are very interested in, it would be him. And I know you guys are like, dang, Angel, I want Schwartz. I want these big names. But I'm telling you, the Browns are looking for somebody who has these traits because this guy can not only scheme up run plays and pass plays, he can also scheme up whatever the weaknesses is every week. If a defense has a weakness, he's going to scheme up that defense's weakness and play, whether it's run or pass. That is where the Browns want to go with their offense. They don't want this caveman offense where it's just two tight ends and a running back. They want to be able to spread the field or go with the two tight ends or run the ball. And this guy has every attribute to do that. Sorry, I went on a tangent.
No, it's fine. Here's my back questions. One, does it bother either of you how little experience he has, similarly to Tommy Rees? Like, regardless of how smart he is or how fast he's kind of coming up the ranks, like, does it bother you how unconnected he is? Or do you like non-factor? He'll get over it. Get in while he's early before somebody else finds out about him.
No, I'm not bothered by that because I think I can tell you what I think the Browns are going to do. They're going to bring in him and they're going to bring in people to help him. Not just him, but I think if there's another guy we have on this list that they're going to bring in people to help, specifically younger people that do it for a year or two. And I personally don't think they even care about that anymore. I don't even think they care about, does he call plays or does he not call plays? I think they're looking for someone specifically that would do adjustments week by week. Because one thing they did not like about Kevin was the fact he didn't adjust in game and he just didn't adjust his offense to the quarterback in which they gave him. Watson, he never adjusted. Shador, he never adjusted. They're looking, this is why when people say Jim Schwartz or Harbaugh or these older people, these older coaches, not to disrespect them, I think they're looking for someone younger with a brighter mind who's going to adjust the game plan every week based on the opponent. By that way, the opponent can be surprised and have to adjust weekly to them. It's the next wave. It's not just the Browns are doing this. It's just, I read it today. I was in jury duty. I read a lot during jury duty today. It's the next wave of the NFL coming in where they don't care anymore about whether you call plays or not and how many years you call plays. They want to see if you have the ability to adapt week by week. And that's more impressive than somebody holding a play sheet.
Can I just say, like, how does the jury respond? Huh?
I didn't get, believe it or not, I didn't get called in today, so I have to go back tomorrow. So I was there for 8 hours today.
Juror
reading.
number 14. What are you doing with your phone?
No, I wasn't. Okay. When I mean by jury duties, I was in a room waiting to be called in to be questioned if I'm suited enough to be a juror. I'm in the beginning
Remind me to
stages.
tell you guys, and I think, well, it's over. I'm allowed to tell it on the air. I won't do it now, but remind me on one of these shows when we've got time to kill about the case that I got in jury duty. It was friggin' hilarious. It was the greatest case I could have gotten assigned to.
We do that with the summer show. We're in the middle of
when we're like in a dead show, like we'll go into some jury.
But I know I said a lot on him, but Stafford had the fifth best fifth best completion percentage career under his scheme. Now Stafford's a good quarterback, so I mean you can't bring Stafford with you, obviously.
I wasn't gonna say it. I was gonna be like, Stafford's incredible. Puka Nacua is great. That team has had a pretty stellar cast of pass catchers. So
I'm just that's one, but that's because that also too shows encouragement for someone like him who can probably develop a pass catcher because he's a schemer. Say, hey, Nacua could do this development. I mean, that's what I see. That's how I view it. But just want to know you guys.
These last two, that's it for me. Okay. Man, I'll wait. I'm gonna wait. Go ahead, guys. Go ahead. Do your thing.
I'm done with him.
Oh, see, all right, me too. Let's move along.
Mike's like next.
Mike's like, never heard of these guys. Get out of here.
No, I did some research today at work, and I was looking up some of these guys. And you know what? I'm gonna get into it for the last one.
I'll be honest with you. I have a soundboard, and his name's Mike. When I need someone to sound stuff off, Mike's driving, towing trucks, and like fighting the wind, and I'm like jury duty texting. I'm like, what do you think about this? So he's probably like, this dude's on crack.
No, me and you actually worked well today while you were at jury duty and I was at work. We ran into the dumbest error today, and we had to do the dumbest thing to fix it. It was wild, but it happens.
Next, we got a fan favorite. Next, number 9, John Harbaugh. We all know him. He's a former head coach, Super Bowl champion, beat the Niners, his brother, and in 2012, 180-13. And by the way, this speaks a lot because him and Tomlin won a lot in this division, and they're gone. So let's talk. Also mention it's important for the Browns to get this right because this division's up for grabs in the next couple of years.
Also important for them to get it wrong, just like the Steelers have at quarterback for the last
100%.
Decade basically.
Since Roethlisberger left. Yeah.
They got it right and they rode it for the longest time. We need them to get it wrong here and ride that for the longest time. Please. Yep. It is
the upside down.
Your time. I didn't see it's our time to shine.
Oh, he was a coach of the year. I didn't know that. I didn't know he's a 2019 coach of the year. Okay.
Harbaugh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the year that Flacco went down, right? And Lamar came in and just blew it up, or was that?
No, that's why Stefanski got two-time coach of the year because we just dealt with injuries on 2 horrible years.
Yeah, you get coach of the year by defying expectations. The beginning of the season comes and they're like, "Oh, this team is a 5-win team," and you go to the playoffs, you're getting coach of the year. That's how. It works.
So obviously, Harbaugh would be a yes for everybody. I would assume.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, for me. Obviously, he's that gritty guy that I do want. He gets things done. He, I think, has been able to evaluate his team and in the right ways, and it's shown game in and game out. You see improvements. Obviously, with Lamar Jackson, that could have changed in the past couple of years, is what we're hearing. So I don't know what's going to happen here if he were to come here. I hope for the best, to be honest. He would be my first choice to see how it happened. But my question to you guys is, we all want him. How big of a contract, how long of a contract would you be willing to sign for that?
So I have a interesting question to ask you guys.
Well, damn,
Is
answer
Jim-
mine first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I asked how long of a contract would you sign in 5 years?
Oh, you have to
I
sign him.
really-
I think
Poor
he's going to
Chad.
want 5 years. He's going to want a long
You'll know in
deal.
4 if he's any good. No, I think if he comes in, you give him like a long 5-year contract.
you have to
like,
give him 5
this
years.
is your team for the next couple of years. Build it into something. That's the Harbaugh that I dislike less. Jim can just get out of here. But John's the one that is interesting to me. He's a little more Ohio related. The Harbaughs, for people that don't know, are from Ohio, south of Cleveland. I forget where, Mentor or something. Maybe south of that too, even. But they're from Ohio.
True, Ethan.
John went to school at Miami, Ohio, which is the rival of my college. So, and then the other one went to Michigan, the rival of the college that I root for. So I have grown up just not liking both of them. But when somebody with this amount of success and clout come to have a chance to come to Cleveland, it'd be impossible to not jump on board. But I told Mike earlier, like, my reality is I haven't even considered this a possibility. I don't even believe he'll interview here.
Yeah. I'm going to agree with Chad. I don't think he's in. Actually, Diana Rossini said the top 3 are Tennessee, Atlanta, New York. Not in that order, but I think she did New York, Atlanta, and then Tennessee.
Disappointing for Miami, that seemed to have fired their coach for him, but
yeah.
Listen, I'm going to tell you, I think I said this in a chat the other day to both of you guys. I said, watch this be like a Deshaun Watson situation where he says, I'm not coming here. I'm not going to Cleveland. And then Haslam opens up the pocketbook and
I
says,
see him doing that.
Yes,
how it
you
would
are.
happen. That's how it
He's
would have
not
to
a-
happen.
He's not a 23-year-old kid that wants money. Harbaugh's got money. I think he's looking for a place that has a quarterback already. And that I would like for him to come here because I would love for him to beat Baltimore twice a year and just say, shove it, dude. Take that. That's what you get for getting rid of
That
me.
is the only upside I can see of him ever coming to
Yeah.
Cleveland, or Tomlin for that matter, is like sticking it to the other organization. Like,
Yep.
okay, I'll go there and win.
What
and
if
I'll beat you twice
Stefanski
a
does
year.
that to us?
I hope not.
Oh,
It
man.
can happen. We play against New York, Tennessee, and Atlanta this year. So one of those teams you might go
And the
with.
Ravens twice.
And the Ravens twice. And Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is an opportunity for him to go there too. My question to you guys is, and it kind of sucks as a guy on the radio, kind of took my thunder because I was going to ask the same question. Do you feel that this list is a compilation of both Jimmy Haslam and Andrew Berry?
Yeah, Andrew Berry. I'm sorry, Jimmy Haslam said it. Him and the general manager is the one that's going to be on the coaching hire job. Him and the ownership. Andrew Berry and the ownership is quoting Jimmy Haslam.
So when people say, I want John to come here, you have to understand that Andrew Berry most likely may not want that. Because if John comes in, I don't care about the $20 million, whatever money he wants to pay. That doesn't bother me.
I know what you're going to say, and I think you're right.
What bothers me is the fact that he said he wants to pick his own GM. He wants full control. And last time that happened here, it did not end well. It didn't.
Last time that happened, most places,
it didn't end
it
well.
did not end well.
Doesn't
That
end well.
is a recipe for failure most of the time because it's a desperate thing. It's the same as giving 3 draft picks, 3 firsts, and $240 million to Watson. You're creating a desperate situation, and good teams don't do it.
And you're going to give it to a guy who has not successfully drafted a receiver to help Lamar. And that's not to sit there and say he was in charge of the draft. So if he's not in the charge of the draft, you're going to give him power to draft that he's never done before. That scares me as a fan.
I mean, I'm a big guy I'm a big believer that Lamar was sort of the beginning and the end to him. I think it's one of those situations where Lamar is too good and puts a lot of pressure on you, where he's so good you need to succeed. but he's so uniquely good that it's hard to build a team around him. And that I could see something that kind of built up and became frustrating for Harbaugh. I mean, the guy, I'll bet you if you're like, hey, prime Lamar, prime Flacco, I'll bet you a guy like Harbaugh goes prime Flacco. I know exactly I know exactly what we need to do there, and I know exactly what we're getting. And Lamar, as talented as he is such a put the team on my shoulders and get things done guy that it makes it harder to like create an offense that like works in sync. And I think that's part of the reason it was so hard for them to find receivers is where do you know where's Lamar going to be throwing from? Is he
Yeah.
going to extend this play? What, can they just run a normal route or do you have to find some receiver that's real good at scrambling, which by the way, Zay Flowers is frigging great at. And that's why I'm like, this might be the reason he's the first receiver to work with them. He's really good at playing off script and Lamar refuses to play on script. But it sounds stupid. There's very few scenarios where I can be like, wow, Lamar is super good, but also maybe the reason a coach would get fired because he's just hard to work around.
I do know if we win a Super Bowl next year, I'm gonna thank whoever fired Paul DePodesta for it. I'm gonna, yep, I said it, Chad.
We're gonna blame him for the losing.
I mean, it might be. Doesn't care. Mike doesn't care that Sashi Brown is the president of the Ravens. He thinks all nerds out of here.
Out of here.
Get out of here.
See you. Bye-bye.
You also gotta give everybody your 60-40.
Yeah.
On Harbaugh.
I said there's a 60-40 chance that
that's high for me.
Jim Harbaugh might be here.
If he gets here, I'm going to tell you right now, nobody in town is more confident than Mike, and you can be like, I heard of the one guy on the Peter Browns knew this was going to happen because I don't think I said 595. I said 5% chance that this could happen.
I would say,
and I felt like I was being generous because I would be, if you said what's more likely, you hire him or he doesn't even interview, I would say he doesn't even interview. So Mike, I mean, he's an exciting candidate. I hope you're the one that's right on this one. I really do.
That would be nice, but I have high hopes. As a Cleveland Browns fan, can you guys believe I'm saying that?
He leaves some to be desired, but you can't argue with like what he brings. It's better than it would be the best. It'd be the best resume we've had in Cleveland. Probably
almost a guarantee to win games. Is what that is.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I would be excited. Someone just in the chat said Angel doesn't like John. No, I do like John, but I'm also realistic and to know that the fact that if New York, Atlanta, or Tennessee, who has their quarterbacks, are in play, as a coach / going to be controlling the draft from that point on, I don't have to draft a quarterback. I got a receiver in New York and a running back in New York. I got pieces on defense in Atlanta and pieces on offense in Atlanta. Tennessee, I have a quarterback and maybe a couple pieces on offense. I got to fix their defense. That's a lot easier. And then I'll have to deal with this owner.
Yeah.
Like we don't even we forget about the fact that he has to deal with Jimmy Haslam.
That's
who's
true.
Inconsistent.
And by the way, he doesn't just have to deal with Jimmy. He's been watching what's been going on here for 18 years, and Jimmy's been here for the last 12 of them. He knows exactly how messy this has been because he's been scheming against this team and watching the coaches turn over and seeing what's happening in Cleveland. Like he is as familiar as anyone to what's happening here. But Angel, Mike sounds like Mike thinks like this is like a choice destination for him. Like I said, be a nice place for him to kick the Ravens in the pants. Where do you think his top destination is? Like where do you put him?
You talked about it last week, and I looked into it. I think Atlanta. Atlanta's a perfect spot for him. The pieces are there. And I agree with Ethan. They're a quarterback. They're going to need a quarterback eventually, and you can get it in next year's draft. They probably can't get it because they gave up their first pick to the Rams this year. But their defense is solid. They got core pieces, and maybe he can tap into Cousins there and get one good year out of him, one more, and you can win right away.
5 last games,
and the owner's amazing. The owner, Atlanta's owner, is one of the best in the league, just hands down.
And also, like,
I know
people are not. He is an owner that is willing to like hire his guys and let them work. That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
The other thought is like, yeah, maybe they don't have a quarterback we know of, but they drafted Penix in the first round, and it is a better option than a lot of teams that fire head coaches or our head
I mean,
coach hunting.
you're coming here with a quarterback that just came off injury for 2 years and a 5th-round pick who struggled to grasp the NFL concept. Yes, there's things I like about Shador that I'm encouraged with, but a guy who's 63, you think he's going to come in here and have to develop a young guy? See, that's the part that I have pause with Jim, not John.
And even
It was
so,
like,
there's no route. Like you could somebody said the other day, like, oh, then people like this Raiders job, they don't have a quarterback. Yeah, but they have a route to a quarterback. The Atlanta has
pretty
a
good.
route. There's a scenario where their quarterback works out a lot easier than ours. And they've got 2 scenarios like that. And like there's just,
Also, Mike
I'm
said
really
it.
skeptical of
Yeah,
Dart, but of Jackson Dart. But there
it's
might be
something.
somebody who looks at it and like, I see a route where I make him our franchise quarterback. Like there's something
Mike
there.
said it perfectly when he said that Haslam's going to have to pull out a pocketbook. That is the only way
Yeah.
any free agent's going to have to come here. Any free agent run quarterback. We did that. He failed. You go to Atlanta. I mean, Watson's going to choose Atlanta before he got that money. So that tells me that's more desirable than here. Well, yeah, Harbaugh has a good defense. That's a good start. But the problem is you've seen what that good defense did for you this year, gave you 5 wins.
Yeah. Well, I said at the beginning of the year, and there's a reel about
Defense
it.
wins championships.
Defense wins championships, but your offense has to be able to score. And I think Harbaugh could be a huge asset to this team to put that offense in scoring
agree.
position and score
If-
points, put points on the board. You need that. But your
If
defense,
it happens, I'll be happy. I won't
well,
complain. Trust me. If he gets there, I'm like, dude, we're about to win. What culture is different. I would be worried about him having control, but that'll be the "I told you so" moment when it happens. But I would be ready to go.
do you guys think the Raiders' path is like Tom Brady making himself an eligible player and just rock and rolling it for like a season? And
Have a season until Mendoza's ready to play.
Not there.
Mendoza's like, hey, I'm ready, Tom. No, you're not, son. Sit back. I got this.
Yeah, he might call up the Steelers, but he's not doing it anywhere else.
Yeah. The last guy on our list, someone that I'm recently very excited about, and he's young, very smart. Yeah, he was told that he can tell you how to put a car together without reading directions. That's how smart he is. Grant Udinski. Udinski. Jacksonville Jaguars offensive coordinator. This guy's smart. I need you guys to go on Facebook, whatever, or Instagram, whatever you guys are on, and just type in his name and put an interview and just listen to this guy talk.
Yeah,
That's
what they need to do.
That's what did it for
You
me.
were excited about him, and I was like, this is the least exciting person I can think of. And I'm like, I'm going to have to see what you saw, because I'm looking at a 30-year-old who has had 1 year as an offensive coordinator in the NFL and didn't even call his own plays. And I looked at this and I was like, how is this guy even on the list? And they were like,
I can tell you why.
So that means I have to go see what you
Hold
saw.
on, go ahead, Angel.
No, you forgot what you were gonna say.
I was gonna say what you would do with this kid is keep Tommy Reese as your offensive coordinator. Just try this out for a year, okay? Put this kid in as a head coach. Yes, as smart as this kid is, and you could tell, like Angel said in his press conference,
He's smart.
This kid reads a defense while making an offense is what they are. It is insane.
He was talking to a player, and he was telling the player what he needed to do to beat a defense and become better. And he didn't just go, do this route, and go there. He was like, if this player were to do D, X, Y, Z, and he was like, in the letter grades of every little thing, he broke it down during this interview. And I was like, this kid's 30?
He could read a defense and know what their coverage is going to be and pretty much call an audible from the sideline and say, hey, do this, is essentially what that interview was saying. But you know what? Here's my other point to this is I don't want Tommy Reese to be a head coach just yet. He's still younger and he's got things he's figuring out. This kid proved himself this year by pulling the Jags to what they are today. And the NFL is changing. I know you guys talk about trees, and he came from the Kubiak tree and all this. The NFL is changing as a whole. It's time to bring in this new young talent that's going to throw these old guys off. Possibly. I mean, that's just another theory that could happen. But Chad, seriously, go listen to this kid talk.
Yeah, I'll
And
have to.
it's
I
gonna.
guess I just don't. Like I said, on paper, like I've barely heard of the kid, and on
So
paper, I was like, he's 30. He's never called plays. Like I don't. What
let's
is
look
the
at
upside?
let's
Like
look
what
at
is
his
on
track
the on
record.
paper upside?
So we'll go over his track record. Sam Darnold goes to Minnesota. He works with him in what happens with Sam Darnold. Has a career year in Minnesota with him and O'Donnell. They worked with them together. O'Donnell says that he's a smart, brilliant kid. Then he wasn't even OC there. He ended up getting promoted, going to Jags. Who is the Jags quarterback? Trevor Lawrence. He had a horrible year last year. And under him and Cohen, he improves. The track record show this guy knows how to communicate just like the other guy, what's his name that we just talked about from Illinois. Man, I gotta remember that guy's name. The reason why I'm interested in him also, he's former quarterback, again, knows how to talk the quarterback lingo.
Mhm.
Where's the other guy at? But anyways, he knows how to talk quarterbacks. He knows how to develop the quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence, big fan of him. The reason
right,
why
Chad.
he's getting a lot of run, not just in Cleveland, is because it goes back to my spiel earlier about the new wave of coaching that's going to come in NFL, where it doesn't matter how long you coach, it doesn't matter whether you call players or not. It's all that matters is how you communicate, how you develop, and how you communicate to your players and how they grow. That's why I said go back to that interview with him, and he was talking about an offensive player, and I thought for 1 minute he was talking about a defensive player because he broke down what the defense guy was doing. And he was telling the offensive player, when he does this, you do this, you do that. It was just, it's like poetry. So I would be very excited if the Browns can get him. Now he's 30. He's young. He's the youngest of all this group here. But this guy has a lot of potential. It's one of those things where if you don't get him this year, he's definitely going to be on someone's team next year. So it might be one of those, you have to shoot your shot now before you lose out later on him. You might be, we had him in the building and we let this guy go 2 years from now. And that guy is over there coaching like the next Sean McVay.
Or what you could do is bring him in here as something. Let him get a feel for.
Well, he's an OC. You have to promote him to head coach. He can't lateral move.
You're right.
So he'll
Well,
have to
it
either
doesn't have
be
to
a
necessarily
coach,
be. It doesn't have to necessarily be head coach though.
assistant.
We brought in
Vrabel.
we brought in a special teams coordinator who I don't like at all. Actually, we did with Mike Prefer. Back when we had Mike Prefer,
Oh yeah,
I think we
Prefer,
brought
that's
him
what I meant
here.
to
We
say that.
we made him assistant head coach. So that is
Yeah.
a promotion. So like
So
he
what
doesn't
you-
necessarily
Yeah.
he doesn't
You're
call
right.
plays there. You can bring him as the offensive coordinator and then like assistant coach, and then
Yeah,
all of a
it's-
sudden
yeah.
he's
So
there's more tricks to it.
So I'm big on that guy. I know you know much about him, Brad. Chad. I encourage you to look into him. I personally think you will like him personally, because I feel like me and you are the same type of mind sometimes when it comes to certain things.
Yeah,
Once you read
my
into him,
hesitancy is the age. I think you're very excited about a young guy. I'm more
well,
nervous
I'm
about a
very
young guy.
excited about a young guy. That's why I don't
Yeah,
want
I'm the opposite.
63-year-old man.
I am nervous about a guy that's 30 putting together an offensive staff when he can't possibly know enough NFL coaches to bring in,
McVay.
and every coaching position matters.
Yeah. Do you think other coaches that he been around, it's like, man, this guy's smart. I want to get with him because
I
he's
want to
going to
work
make me look
underneath.
good.
I want
Yeah.
him to be my boss. No,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think very
I
few
think
people want
McVay.
that.
McVay
That's
was
why.
that. He was
Hold on.
30.
That's why Chad didn't understand the chat earlier. He didn't watch that
The video.
interview.
Yeah, that's what he said. I don't understand
Yeah,
what you
that's
guys
why I'm
talking
like, I
about.
don't know what you guys are talking about at
We were talking
all.
about the interview. But yeah, so those are the 10 people that they're either interested in or interviewed. I'm sure there might be more to come. Hopefully soon. I think this is going to be a long process because they still haven't interviewed any of these guys, the last guys that we talked about.
Can't make
Yeah.
it too long.
Yeah.
What's your guys' guess like estimated timeline for us to have a head coach announced?
What with
I'd
the
say
team
2 weeks.
they just opened up a new team. I mean, they're gonna have to go through that team's gonna have to go through a lot of interviews too. I mean,
I'm saying 2 weeks or more, or probably a month.
I say
At
2.
least.
Yeah. I would assume 2. Because the draft is coming up, what, in a month or 2, 3 months? He's got to get in and get his team together, and they have to get on the same page of who they're going to draft and what type of offense
I
they want
think
to run.
the shoes, will start to drop like free agents. It'll start not as fast,
Yeah.
but it'll start when like a main person everybody's waiting on, like Harbaugh signs, and the team knows they don't get him. They've got their other guy lined up, and they're calling immediately.
Dominoes.
So-
It'll be him, Kevin.
I just looked up. Udinski was in the NFL a little longer than I thought, which is
6
good.
years.
Yeah, I didn't know it was that long. I thought it
He was a
3
coaching
years.
assistant.
Yeah, it was not high level. He was an offensive assistant for 2 years, and so he really began his coaching career in 2022. But like, whereas like the guy I referenced, like Mike McDaniel,
Yeah.
is like 42, but he's been in the NFL for 19 years. So when he became a head coach at age 37, he had already been in the NFL for 14 years. So like,
Wasn't he like one of the first
feels
youngest NFL coaches too at one point?
Mike McDaniels.
he came in really
Yeah.
young. He became
Yeah.
an NFL guy right out of college, and like,
McVay's
that's rare.
McVay's the youngest at 30.
Angel, you
McVay
better
was the
quit adding
youngest
the
head
S
coach.
at the end of his name.
McVay's the youngest head coach, but he was in the NFL for almost a
Oh,
decade
Daniels.
before he got hired as a head coach, which means and jumped around a little. So he had a lot more chance to meet other people. But and
Yeah.
I'm not saying you can't hire just because you're 30, you can't hire anybody. I'm just saying like it really limits the pool. He can't possibly know that many people.
Do you think
right?
that?
like
So I think what can happen is you pair him up with Nate here,
The
who's the
defensive
passing
side.
game coordinator. You make him OC, and then you make Grant the head coach, and you have
maybe
a monster friggin' offensive scheme built there.
maybe you might be marrying two people whose philosophies are very different
They're
and
very
like flat.
they're similar.
So
looked
one
into
more thing before we take off, guys. We have something that
Somewhat
Angel
similar.
put together here real quick.
Oh,
we are
yeah.
the number one analytical team in the NFL.
Chad,
for
what do you see
2023.
up there? The guy that everybody wants. What do you see?
Number 2.
Well, I mean, the number one candidate on the market right now is definitely Harbaugh, and it's not
and
close.
and he was there for what, 18 years? And they're the number 2 analytic team in the league.
I think I read they were the number 1 analytic team in the league until DePodesta came here, and that was part of where, like, Haslam was convinced through Sashi Brown, who we fired, that analytics are actually more important in football. But like, they brought in DePodesta to build an analytic department that was like more new age to the NFL, and it does happen to be the like most robust one, and we're number 1 now. But a lot of that came. Baltimore has for a decade now been at the top of that list. The next one, where Andrew Berry used to work, is another
Philadelphia.
incredibly successful organization, the Eagles. And then you look at the Bills. So those top 4 specifically, the Browns are the only team that hasn't been successful in it. But like, that's why I wish Browns fans would be more open to the fact that it is a good model, because it's working for everybody else. Just because it hasn't worked here, we kind of blame it. Like, oh,
Yeah.
analytics are why we suck. But it hasn't made Baltimore, Philadelphia, or Buffalo suck. It's just you have to execute it as well. You can't just be like, we did a lot of math, so we're good now. You still have to play the game.
So in the comment, Dennis is calling me crazy because I said all these young people, and he assumes Haslam wants an old guy and Haslam's in charge. I have a quote for you real quick, but let me show you the connection, why I make the connections that I do. Browns are the number 1 in analytics, right? You drop down to Minnesota, who's number 5, and Jacksonville's number 9. You knew who coached for those 2 teams? Grant, the OC, who is currently in Jacksonville. That is another attraction to this Cleveland Browns, who wants to be heavy in analytics.
I wish I could drop my mic.
He's in it. He's been
I
in
think
it
it's
since
almost
he's
the
been in
opposite too,
Minnesota.
Angel. I get your point. I think it's almost the opposite. I think it's almost more like the Browns are heavy in analytics, so they're going to want to bring in a coach.
No, exactly
It's
what
not
I
like,
meant.
bleh, right? Yeah.
Yep.
The way you word it's just like they're going to bring in a
No,
coach.
I'm saying
that's
the
like,
Browns
"Oh,
are heavy
good."
analytics, and they got this guy who spent his whole career
Yeah.
in Minnesota and not in
And they
Jacksonville.
know he's on board.
in
Yeah, they're gonna
analytics,
want
so
somebody
he's
that's
going to be on board. It's
Yep.
going to be an easy transition for them. John Harbaugh will be too, because he's done it for 16 years. And Dennis, I'll leave you with this comment and then we'll sign off. This is from your GM, who's in charge of finding your head coach. He said, it's more you're looking or maybe a specific skill set given where you're in our build. He said, I think that's fair. I don't think that the type is singular. I don't think that means it just has to be a young person. I don't think it means it has to be an offensive coach. I mentioned it a bit earlier. The head coaching position is so different than being a coordinator. And the head coaching responsibility is to make sure that the offense runs and develop as well as opposed to necessarily having that person that directly does it. Barry is describing a CEO style head coach, someone who oversees the entire operation, managing people, building systems. He doesn't want a head coach just to run an offensive system. He wants a system manager over it all. And if you're old and you haven't done it before, it's going to be hard for you to learn that. So for me, when I see that, I see a young guy who's an up and comer, who knows the system, who's been in the system, and the transition is going to be easy. I could be wrong. It could be John. It could be everyone's favorite, Schwartz. But I'm telling you, don't sleep on the young guys just because they've been coaching for 2 or 3 years and because you don't like them.
Or know them.
Or you don't know
or
them. If you don't like them, you're just not giving. You don't know.
Dennis,
Like,
don't be surprised. It will be a 30-year-old coach. And when it is, if it is, come back on the show and say, wow, Angel, you weren't far off, because this team wants to be a younger driven team, because you're going to have a younger driven offense. You can't have an old coach communicate.
I would say to Dennis, every coach that this guy has hired is a new head coach.
Young.
He hasn't brought in any veteran coaches since he took the job. Zero, right? We've had like 6 head coaches.
Besides Jim. Yeah.
We've had 6 head coaches under Jimmy Haslam in the last 10 years.
Right.
All of them were first-time head coaches. So don't think the only thing he's willing to do is hire a veteran, because he's never done that before. If anything, like, I'm not saying he won't, but he clearly is not averse to a first-time head coach, because he's hired a bunch of kids and a bunch of first-timers.
Especially if it's somebody that will be collaborative.
I mean, Kevin was like 36 when they hired him as the head coach.
Especially if it's someone, the big thing is collaborative. You got to be collaborative. And do you think that he is going to let go of Andrew Barry after he advocated for him for 20 minutes? That's going to make him look like a liar, and it's going to make him look stupid.
Yeah, he could. I don't think he will.
I mean, he could.
Yeah,
what does that say about his
word? He's crazy. He's a wild card. But like, I don't think we should be leaning that way, assuming that.
Yep.
Because it's just
the way I think. I could be wrong, but I have a podcast, and sometimes I just communicate how I think. And I've been more wrong than right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I use Mike for.
We have no special information. It's just really about like talking it out.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to do. It's healthy.
Dennis says Harbaugh or Schwartz, book it. Okay.
That's all right. We'll see, man. Hopefully we'll see you in 2 weeks.
I don't think either of those are likely. Yeah. I'm not counting either out. They're both possible. I don't think either are likely, but
we'll see. Next week we'll be here 7:30. All platforms. Thank you for tuning in.
9:30
or until 9:30. Obviously, sorry we had 10 people to talk about. Now we're going to add on to the list next week, probably.
Well, the reason, and here's what's funny: we could have split this up. I was nervous these candidates would start signing throughout this week, and it would have been like, well, we should have talked about them already.
I was so hoping to get to use this during today's show right over Angel's face, but we got nothing. We got no breaking news whatsoever.
Why didn't Pittsburgh wait to fire Tom? Wait till Tomlin waited to leave to our show. We broke that news. Yeah. Dennis said those all speculations. I agree.
It is.
Thanks for this.
We're openly saying like we don't have any inside information on this. We're just going over the logic of like, why would you or wouldn't you be excited about these guys? That's really the phase we're at.
And also, too, this is 8 hours of me being in a room waiting to be called on, and it just needed to come out.
And actually, this is rare though. Angel is very excited about offensive like a 30-something-year-old like young offensive quarterback coach type. Mike is very excited about more like a vet and more of like a hard nosed traditional quarterback. Coach. And I'm actually sort of rarely sitting in the middle this time. Like I'm sort of in the middle.
Yeah, usually you're like screaming and Mike's screaming.
I'm
and
usually
in the
way
middle.
on one side or the other though too. And I'm like, I'm sort of in between you. I'd like somebody in the middle of
I want to
those.
bring this up because I've seen this a couple of times. Sam said, what if Barry gets promoted to like president of football operations and they bring in the general manager? I'm going to tell you right now, I've had, and I know I won't say this unless I actually mean it. Someone told me specifically, Andrew Barry would not be promoted. He's always wanted to be a GM and he's doing what he's always wanted to do. So
He's
it's
too
either
young.
going to be
the guy's
John,
like 38 years old.
It's either going to be John or him at GM. So if they elected to have John and his guy at GM, Andrew Barry will be gone. And telling you,
I've heard it before. Sam's not like off his rocker. I just think, and I do think that's probably in Andrew's future. I just think it's too early. He's just getting.
He wants to be a GM.
The guy's gotten to pick in the first round twice in his career. Like he wants to make some picks.
Yeah, Chad, I did move notes.
I just saw that. I was like, oh no, what'd I do?
No, I moved them to
okay.
the old folder and got those for next week.
All right, we've been on
everybody. It's
for 25 minutes too long. It was fun. Thanks for tuning in for almost 2 hours of the show.
Yeah,
you guys might want to break this one into two and watch it in segments.
No, I know if we go over 2 hours, we do it messes with us. But
we have a lot of reels.
We'll be live this Saturday, 10 a.m.
Yes.
The Browns Morning Brew with me, Sam, and Gary, and Logan. So don't forget to join us. It's 10 o'clock. It's 10 o'clock.
Gary will be going over the entire team's PFF scores with everyone.
Oh man, I got to get Gary on a Tuesday show with you one day.
Until next
he was already
time.
In the chat giving me crap. That's why I said it.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for the love. Continue to follow. Until next time, like always, go Browns.
Go Browns.